Your backup plan is your real plan.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay attention to your dissatisfaction and you have to say yes to the scary things. The gravitational pull of your formal self is real. You must respect it. Like you think, oh, I read a book and now I'm going to do things differently. Oh, no, you won't. Not except you're very intentional about it because you may do it differently for 2 weeks and you will go back to the way you've always done it because you've done it maybe for years, right? There's no award category for mom that did it alone. If we choose discomfort, like the right discomfort, then we're setting the stage for greatness.
Welcome to DPC Life, the podcast where independent doctors share real stories, bold ideas, and the freedom of doing medicine on your own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Ann Gonzalez, and together we'll explore the wins, the struggles, and everything in between. Let's dive in. Welcome back to DPC Life, the podcast where we talk about all things DPC and everything beyond. I'm very excited about my guest today, Dr. Nika Unachukwu, also known as Dr. Una. She is the founder of the EntreMD Business School, a pediatrician, mom, wife, pastor, physician entrepreneur. She has made it her mission to help 100,000 doctors to build businesses that they love and practice medicine the way that they want to. But before we dive into the interview, I want to start with a little honesty, and I guess I'd call it a little confession. So as many of you might know, and maybe not, you'll see why. Some of you may know that I have developed a CRM, which is a customer relationship manager that is specifically for DPC practices. I hope will help other doctors who are thinking about DPC get their practices up and running and growing and help them be successful. And I'm hoping that it will help people who are kind of on the fence about DPC to realize that it is possible and that there are things to help them with reaching out and advertising their services. This platform, it's based on a high-level platform. We started using it in our practice this past summer. And when we started, I thought, this is amazing. This would help so many other DPC doctors get themselves organized, and decided that I was going to create a DPC-specific version of this. This is not what I obviously trained in. I mean, I enjoy tech, and I consider myself to be pretty techy, and not everyone is. So the goal is to make it for people who are not very tech-oriented. So the CRM that I've developed, it's called Harmony Ops for DPC, and it's meant to help doctors that are just starting out all the way up to established practices. The platform comes in different tiers. There's the most basic, which would be a chat widget on the website, all the way up to fully done for you, posting your social media, running your calendar, all the automations done for you completely. So there's a whole spectrum of how Harmony Ops for DPC can be used. I wanted to make it affordable for people, especially when they start out, because as a small business, it is sometimes very tight, especially if you do not have patients yet. I firmly believe that this will be helpful for those DPC doctors that are just about to launch or brand new. And this is new territory for me. So sometimes when I am talking to people about the platform, I get a little bit of the ick feeling because this is new for me. Like, I can talk to people about DPC all day long. I feel very comfortable promoting that, but this is still new. And I keep thinking about what Dr. Una says in her books that, number one, no one's going to know about you unless you tell them about what you do. And two, if you believe in something and you know that it's going to help somebody, that you have to share that with other people. Because, for example, if you don't tell people about your DPC practice, then you are depriving some people from probably the best medical care that they could get. Because I've started talking more to people about Harmony Ops, I have noticed that I've been feeling a lot like I did when we first opened our DPC, like constant nausea, very anxious all the time, can't sleep well. Yeah, so all of those things, like not eating, all of those things that I felt when we opened our DPC initially, and I'm doing it again. And why? Why am I doing this? I think a lot of business owners think that, but I do believe the platform is going to help a lot of people. So, like I said, I feel like it's my duty to tell people about it, even if it's scary and uncomfortable and you're nauseous and sick to your stomach. You just have to do it. Even if you feel like you're not ready, you're never going to be quote unquote ready. There's never a perfect time. You're never going to have everything perfectly set up. If you wait until that day, it's just going to take forever for you to get started. So you just have to start and you'll figure things out on the way. And people may not know that. You feel like you want to vomit, but you have to do it. So this is one of the lessons in Dr. Una's books, that selling is service, because again, you're providing something that can be helpful and you don't want to gatekeep that. So you have to tell people. And also they will not know about you unless you tell them. So those are some of the biggest lessons that I took away from Dr. Una's books. So that ties into our interview today with Dr. Una. She helps physicians get past the fear, get past the ick, understand that selling is service, and by believing in what you're promoting and what you're selling, then you'll convince the right people to join your practice. So that's my little business confession for today. And maybe in the next couple of weeks, I will be able to come on here and say that I've had a little less of the ick factor. I hope so. I think so. It just gets better the more you do it. Thanks for letting me unload what's been going on in my head recently. So now let's get into the conversation with Dr. Una. I'm so super excited and honored to introduce my guest today. She is a renowned author, speaker, pastor, mom, wife, physician, entrepreneur. You know you're famous when you have one name, Dr. Una. Dr. Nika Unachukwu, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this. I actually signed up an hour early. I was like, oh, no, it's not.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So yeah, this is going to be a great conversation.
It is. There's so much to talk about. So let's start with talking with us about how coming from employed physician and how you became a physician entrepreneur and those big mindset shifts that you had to make to get there.
Yeah, I mean, when I started off as a physician, if you will, a pediatrician, just got my first job and all that, entrepreneurship was not a thing on my mind, not even remotely. And I think that's important for people to hear, because for many physicians, that's not where we start from. And so, but I remember seeing my first patient, right? And there's something about being attending, you see your first patient, take care of them, write the script, all that stuff. I walked out of the room and I had this feeling, it would feel like, yeah, like we're the big league now. But it was very anticlimactic. It was like, so what I just did, I'm going to do this 20 times a day till I'm 65 or whatever, then I'll retire. I was like, this is not happening. Like, there has to be something else. Again, I didn't know it was entrepreneurship. I didn't know it was anything. And so for someone who just has that nudge, like, don't ignore it. You know what I mean? Like, don't quiet down, just pay attention to it. And so I made a decision. I was like, I have to find what that is. I'm only going to give this 10 years of my life. I have to figure out what it is. And, I worked my job. It was a great experience. My boss came and he says, after the first year, he's like, here's a 5-year contract. And I was like, wait, I've been married for 3 years. I just finished a 3-year residency. My idea of forever is 3 years, and 5 years sounds like a very, very long time. And so he was the one who planted the seed, because he said, when I told him I wasn't going to renew my contract, he said, well, if you're not going to renew your contract, start your own practice. I was like, first of all, like 9 months out of residency, this is not a thing that people think. Just in case you don't know, this is not a thing that people think. And then I said, second of all, in case you missed this ginormous bump here, I'm pregnant. Like, this is not the time to start a practice. And then he said, no, like when the baby's little, baby will need you a lot, but the practice will be little, won't need you as much. And when the baby's older and doesn't need you as much, the practice will need you more and you'll be ready to be needed more. And he's like, if you have questions, you can ask me. Okay. So this was the best and the most deceptive conversation that I had at the same time, right? Because I walked away going like, I'm going to start a practice. And then I also thought, and all I'll have is some questions. That's it. It's going to be great. I'm going to hang the shingle. They're going to come. So where we moved to was ultimately 45 minutes away. So it's not attracting any patients from that practice or anything like that. And I had this philosophy, I'll hang the shingle and they will come. I hung the shingle and they did not come. It was the most terrifying thing. And when that happened, then I found myself in a challenging situation because I couldn't get out of the lease and all these things. I just signed a bunch of a
Mhm.
bunch of contracts. But I was like, I don't know how to make this work. And I think like marketing, all these things will need to, but I'm a professional. I don't do things like that. And that's really, I was there for a few weeks, a few months, and I read a book by Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog, and he said, all business skills are learnable. If you see a business doing better than yours, they're not better than you. They just know things you don't know.
Mhm.
And that was the starting point of all things entrepreneurship for me, because I was like, I may not know how to market, sell, hire a team, do any of those things, but I do know how to learn. And so I started this lifelong journey of learning marketing and sales and service delivery and operations and all of these things. And the business took off. We hit our first million, I think, of the third year. Built the practice so it could work without me. I haven't seen patients there like in a really long time, but the practice exists, still doing seven figure, doing all the things that it does. We're very grateful for that. Then I went on to build EntreMD, which is a company where I serve physicians and help them build profitable businesses. So they can live life and
Mhm.
practice medicine on their terms, and the rest they say is history. And I like to tell those pieces because a lot of times people feel I'm not like that person. You don't have to be. You just have to honor the nudges. You have to pay attention to your dissatisfaction, and you have to say yes to the scary things.
I did not ever think, if you'd asked me 5 years ago that said, you're going to have a practice and you're going to be doing a podcast, you're going to be doing all these things, I would have said, you're crazy. Yeah. My husband's a pediatrician as well. And yes, so he's a partner in his practice. And I always thought, well, that's enough. One partner is enough in a family, and our kids were little. And I heard about DPC in 2013, but didn't open for 8 years. So, yes, a part of the reason for this podcast is I'm one of your minions, I will say. Because I've taken up the mission, right? The mission to get doctors out of employed practice and doing their own thing. So that's why I want to do this too, is because I don't want people to wait 8 years to start their own practice, because you don't have time to wait.
You've taken one for the team.
That's
Nobody else
right.
needs to.
The
Yeah.
clock is ticking. So, one of the things that I tell DPCs when they're first opening is read the DPC books, and then the next book you have to read is EntreMD by Dr. Una.
Well, thank you. I
Oh
appreciate
my
that.
gosh, I've told that to so many people. And the reason why is because you talk about the mind shifts towards money and selling. And that was the biggest eye-opening in your book that I got out of it when I read it. So tell us more about how you always talk about how you're an introvert. How did you get past that?
Yeah. So I think the starting point for that was really redefining that word, right? So I used to think being an introvert meant I'm super shy. I'll never be able to speak well on stage. I'll never be able to network like a pro. I would not be a go getter if there was competition I had to come up against, right? Like med school, I can do that because I'm taking my own exams in my own space. But if I had to compete, I couldn't. But that's not really what an introvert is, right? If you think about it, 50% of the population, if they're introverts, we can't all be bad. You know what I mean? We can't all have a defect. And so I started studying it, and I found one thing about introverts are they are people who recharge in solitude. I was like, aha, I can get behind that. Yes, I recharge in solitude. So if I went somewhere, it was an event and all of those things at this stage of my life, I can enjoy an event, I can network, I can speak effectively, I can do all those things. But that is not it's energizing in the moment, but I'll be drained when I'm done. And I need to go take a walk by myself, take a long shower, do any of those things. So I get to a point where I'm like, "Ah, I've recharged myself, right?" So if that's the case, then it also means if you look at it, speaking is a skill, networking is a skill, confidence is something you build over time. These are not personality types, these are skills. So I brought myself to this place where I was like, no, these are learnable skills. I will learn the skills and master the skills. And then I'll also honor who I am by always acknowledging that I recharge in solitude. So, for instance, I host a 3-day event for my clients every year, a vision retreat where we plan the year and we do all of those things. And I do quite a bit of speaking for those 3 days. And I'm with like maybe 50 of my clients and like stuff like that. I know if I start hanging out with them on day one, I will be out. I'll be out by day two or day three. They'll have like 75% of me, then 50% of me, and stuff like that. I know that. So what do? I'm in solitude, right? Then I come out, do my sessions, maybe hang out for 30 minutes or so, go back to my room, solitude to recharge and all of that. And day three, they know. After day three, they all know we're gonna all hang out with Dr. Una. If we need to stay for hours, we can, because she's delivered what she needs to deliver. And even if she's so tired after, that's fine. She's going home. Do you see what I mean? So I honor how I recharge, but I don't accept that there's anything I can't do because I'm an introvert. So I can be a rock star entrepreneur. I can be a dominant speaker. I can network like a boss. I can lead high quality teams. I can have difficult conversations with people. I can do all of that as an introvert because those are skills. But then I also honor, like, if you're going to go do this big event, you have to figure out where you're going to recharge because you're going to need to recharge. So I don't let it stop me. And in fact, I do see it as a superpower because one thing about introverts is they're in their heads a lot. They think a lot, they analyze, they observe a lot. And so for me, when I think about the frameworks I developed for this is how, for instance, you can take your business to 7 figures, all this stuff. Part of it is because I study everything. I study businesses. I study them in different industries. I study entrepreneurs and what they do. I observe a lot of things. I'm playing around with these frameworks in my mind. So actually, I think being an introvert is a superpower at this point. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your social battery. Someone told me that recently. So,
I like that.
social battery. And that's kind of goes into one of the questions that I wanted to ask you because you're very measured with your time and you protect your time. And so one of my questions was, what kinds of things are you saying no to make room for other things in your life?
That's a great question. Well, so this is the way I think about it, right? I have one life, and let's say I have a 12-month period I'm looking at. So I have this 12-month block. And in this 12-month block, I have defined what I want to accomplish. Okay. So let's say I'm making this up that I wanted to help 1,000 doctors in this 12-month block. And I wanted to help them do their first or next 7 figures in revenue. This is my agenda from a business perspective. Okay. Now, in order to do that, I'm like, okay, we need to work the marketing. We need to work the sales. We need this kind of team. And these are my core roles. These are the things only I can do. Once I've defined that, then it becomes very clear what I should spend most of my time doing. And I take it a step further where I also define these things you used to do, you no longer do. So for instance, maybe I used to manage my own social media. And it's like, well, if you're going to do that, you're not going to be able to manage your own social media. But because I've done it for so long, then I put on there, like, this is an 80% activity. This is an activity I no longer do. Right? Maybe I used to manage my own email and calendar. I'm like, no, you have an executive assistant now that you hired. This person takes care of all of that for you. I used to do my own sales calls. You can't do that anymore. Now you have this person who, I literally document it because it's something I've done as a habit. I have to stop it. I have to, and this list, I look at it every day, like, hello, Dr. Una, these are the things you do not do. These are the things you do, right? And so I have to rewire my brain because this is what I tell my clients. I say, the gravitational pull of your formal self is real. You must respect it. Like, you think, oh, I read a book and now I'm going to do things differently. Oh, no, you won't. Not except you're very intentional about it because you may do it differently for 2 weeks and you will go back to the way you've always done it because you've done it maybe for years, right? So I have a list of these are the things you do. These are the things that are good. There's nothing wrong with them. In fact, they got you where you are now, but you no longer do. Now I'm going to make mistakes and all of that stuff, but I don't even see them as mistakes. I see them, I'm wearing training wheels, right? I'm trying to function at this higher level. And then because I've defined where I'm going, when somebody comes with an opportunity that doesn't line up with where I'm going, it doesn't matter how good it is. It's not taking me where I'm going. So the answer is no. Do you see what I mean? When someone comes, oh, I want to be a part of your team. And I look and there's nothing you're doing that takes us where we're going. So the answer to that is going to be a no. it becomes so much easier, but there's no way to get there where it's crystal clear what is a shiny object and crystal clear what is a distraction, except you define with clarity where you're going. And I have talked to a lot of people, physicians included, and I say this respectfully, I was there as well. Is you would think most physician entrepreneurs have goals for their business. They don't. They don't. And so if you don't, it becomes hard to say no because you don't know what is a good opportunity and what is not. You do not know who you need on your team and who you don't. You don't know what you should spend most of your time doing and what you shouldn't, because it's almost like you have the GPS, but you didn't put the address in. So there's no direction. And so it starts from defining what that is. Many other things become very clear. And the things you should say no to become very clear.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Simon Sinek. What's your why? What's your purpose? And then you kind of work backwards from there, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Always reverse engineering. Yeah. Always.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the listeners are either just starting out their DPC, or I call them DPC dreamers. They're thinking about it. They're getting ready to leap. And so they're solo. And a lot of the people who listen are also moms, and they carry a lot of weight at home as well. Yeah. What kinds of suggestions do you have for people who are starting out that are alone? They don't have a wonderful team like you do. What kinds of things can they do to help move themselves along?
Yeah, so there are many ways to look at that. So I'm going to start from where I start from. And if you want some clarification, just point me in the direction and we'll go there. Let me say two things. The first is, especially to the moms, you talked about moms. When I started my private practice, I had a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old. Okay. And I did not qualify for a loan because I was born in the US. I left when I was 6. I came back after medical school. Okay. So I had no credit history and all of these kind of things. And so when it was time, I didn't qualify for a loan. So I self-funded. So I was working about 12 to 20 hours in the local urgent care in addition to all of this. Okay. And then because that is not enough, at the same time, my husband and I planted a church. So this is called chaos of the highest order, okay? Let me define what that is. Now, I'm telling you what I didn't know then, but I learned, okay? It took me a few years, but I learned. When you decide to become a CEO, a physician entrepreneur, one of the best things you can do for yourself is see yourself as the CEO of your life, meaning your business and your home, not the CEO at business and regular mom. When I say regular mom, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, like status quo, what you've always done. Because in order to take on new things, you have to let go of some old things, okay? So if for the moms, consider getting a home team, not just getting a team at home, because there's so much you do. There's no award for doing it all by yourself, right? Now, that team would include your family, your kids. I was talking to a lady at a conference I was speaking at, and she said her 15-year-old, she was doing his laundry or something. I was like, 15 years old. And no, ma'am, this will be a hard no, okay? Right? This will be a hard no. So it includes getting your team, your family on board. They will help you if you ask them. Your children will help you if you hold them accountable to it, right? Okay. So it includes that. It includes volunteers. Like I had in my world, a lot of people I mentored, right? A lot of people I mentored. When I had my 4th child, I was like, listen, y'all go make a roster, okay? Who's going to come spend time with the baby so I could take a nap? They literally had a roster. Because I'm like, I spend my whole life with you guys, mentoring you, doing all this stuff. Oh, no, you're going to come hang with the baby. That's what you're going to do. They had a roster. My life, with the 4th baby, if she was my first and that's the way I did, I probably have 10 kids. It was so fun. I was up with the baby at night. It was amazing. So they're people in your world who will help you. So these are like your unpaid team, if you will, right? Because you've put things in the reciprocity bank so you can withdraw, right? And then people you pay, like, oh my goodness, if you can pay a teenager to do your laundry, pay the teenager. The teenager's happy, you're happy, everybody's happy. But start thinking of yourself as the CEO of your home. It will give you so much peace and quiet. And there's no award category for mom that did it alone. There isn't a category like that, right? So that's on that side. Now, when it comes to the practice itself, One of the things that has helped me accomplish so much more in the quote unquote little time that I have, like multiplied my output, is spending 80% of my time doing what I consider 20% activities. What are 20% activities? These are the needle movers, right? Like tweaking your business plan for the 700th time is not a needle mover. Playing on Canva is not a needle mover. Picking paint for the office, like, must you pick paint? Yes, but it's not a needle mover, right? And you got to be clear on what is the needle mover and what is not. Now, when you are starting, your marketing is the needle mover of needle movers. And so every time we avoid, I'll tell you what I used to do because nobody else does this, right? When I have something important to do, like marketing, that I don't want to, that I, at the time didn't want to do, right? I will do everything else. My to-do list will be full, but that is all procrastination. Like all 12 things are just my method of procrastinating. That's all that it is, right? And so getting your patients is like the most important thing to do. Even if you haven't opened yet, building the brand, having an email list and saying, sign up for my VIP wait list or whatever. So when I start, you'll be the first to know. And all of those things is the most important activity. So the more you avoid it, the more work you'll have to do. And that's the truth, right? Now you might say, oh, it's nerve-wracking, it's uncomfortable, it's all those things. And which it is, but so was putting in IV lines at some point, so was intubating babies at some point, so was running codes at some point. But you did it afraid, and you put in enough reps and you learned how to do it and you became really good at it. It's the same thing with marketing and the rest of the things, right? And so I would say home team, I would say go all in on marketing and don't avoid the uncomfortable things in business, because discomfort is where the greatness is. Your comfort zone is where the status quo is. So we get to, we can only choose one. If you choose comfort, you're choosing status quo. We're not moving forward. Nothing's happening. Nothing is happening. If we choose discomfort, like the right discomfort, then we're setting the stage for greatness, right? And so, yeah.
Yes. And I think a lot of times, especially because DPC doctors, they're always like bootstrappers trying to do everything with as little money as possible, because you know how it works. You just don't have a lot then, especially if you're coming out of residency, right? There's some people coming out that are doing this, which is amazing. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But they want to do everything. They want to answer all the phone calls. They want to call everyone back and explain DPC. And I say, well, maybe you could get a VA because you need to go out and you need to talk to business owners and you need to be showing your face and networking at the chamber and BNI or whatever it is, because no one else can do that for you because it's you're the brand, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't think I bootstrapped, right? I told you I couldn't qualify for a loan or do anything. And actually, as an insurance-based practice, I did it all. I answered my own phones. I was the medical assistant, worked up the patient, saw the patient, gave my own vaccines. And get this, I billed the insurance company. I did everything. And I did it not because I couldn't, because I had a fundamental reason, like, I don't want to hire, I want to bootstrap. I was afraid. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. If I hire somebody and they come in here, they'll figure out I don't even know what I'm doing, right? And I'm like, where will the money come from? Like, I'm asking, where will the money come from for a medical assistant, right? So I get it. However, the opportunity cost of not hiring that person means that I don't get to go out and market. So I could have now had 200 patients on my panel as a DPC doc, and I have 50 because I was answering the phone. Get off the phone and go get the other 150. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's too expensive. So you can still do things in a cost-effective way, right? One of the things I teach about a lot is the profitable team. Like, how do you bring on team members in such a way that as you bring them on, your profit grows, it doesn't disappear, right? But doing it all yourself is not necessarily the answer. There is a better way.
And with you talking about how you didn't have a loan and you had to work you had to moonlight, and that's what a lot of people have to do with their practices. They're kind of half DPC, half hospital, or half urgent care. Did you feel like that hindered your growth? I mean, you had to, but obviously you would have preferred to just work on your practice. But what do you think it would have been like if you hadn't done that?
Well, I don't know that it would have hindered my growth. I think it's because of the way I handled it. Like, some people did do half and half. That's not what I did. what I did was I need the revenue I need to fund this, like literally was my funding strategy. Like if I had taken a loan, I would have had to pay back interest and do all of that stuff. There's stuff that, and to me, I just saw it like, this is me paying interest. That's what that was. And so I started with, in the beginning, we're not really busy, so I could do as many shifts as possible. And every time I added on more patients, I decreased my shifts. It was a
So you just
titration.
balanced
Like,
it.
yeah, my priority was not working the job. Like, I'm going to do both. It was not about doing both. It was about funding my practice. Because of the intention, it never became a distraction. There never came a place where this is safe. Do I hold on to this? It was never that, because the job was, it was not a safety net. It was not something I do so I just have revenue, because what that does is then you don't put pressure on the business, right? To grow and stuff like that. So it was never a half and half. It was never a safety net. It was literally, I have to pay the rent for my practice. I have to pay this, I have to pay that, pay a few bills. So I don't put pressure on the newborn, right? Because the practice was a newborn. But yeah, this newborn is going to pay bills in a second. And so I probably overall probably did that for a year and a half. And of course, it started off heavy and just kept dropping that. So it's maybe 2 times a month. And it got to a place I was like, forget it. I'm not doing it anymore. So it didn't hinder my growth. But if that is not the intent, it can. If we're like, I have 2 sources of revenue, my practice and my job, then yeah, that's going to hinder stuff big time.
Yeah. I think that what you said, the safety net, I think that's what a lot of people are doing, is because they're just like, I don't know if I can get the patients. Let me just kind of keep this. And in that situation, I think it is a hindrance. I think you really have to, I like the way that you said you just balanced it out. I don't think people think of it that way.
Yeah, because it was not, I didn't see it as a source of income. I saw it as self-funding my practice.
Yeah.
Like, and you bring up an interesting point, because, and it's important, is if you're not committed, it is hard to win in entrepreneurship. For instance, in my program, someone said, can I come try it out? I was like, no. And I would love for you to try it out, but this is what I know. If you try entrepreneurship, it doesn't work. It's like trying medical school. Like, it's not going to work, because that's going to require like I'm all in, because tough times are going to come. And it's going to require a version of you that doesn't exist now, right? And so if you have a safety net, you can have a philosophy that I don't want to market. But if you knew you had to grow it, you go like, okay, how do we figure this stuff out? Right?
Yep.
If you had a safety net, you know your pricing is wrong. You know you should raise your prices. But you're like, yeah, I just work an extra shift here to make up for it. But if you didn't have that, then you're like, okay, how do I raise my prices, like get rid of the mind drama, raise my prices, and offer it confidently, knowing people will say yes to it. If you have a safety net, you won't do that, right? And so it doesn't mean throw away reason, because sometimes people go like, I quit my job 3 months ago. I'm ready to start my business. I'm like, Lord have mercy. No, that's not the way this works. Please don't. You're still going to have to, the newborn is not going to pay bills, right? Like, so I'm not saying throw away reason. But what I am saying is, if you're like, I'm going to keep this job just in case this doesn't work, like your backup plan is your real plan. That's the way humans are, right? And so you want to go all in. And if you could learn to run codes, intubate people, literally like running a code is like raising people from the dead. They died. You got them back up. Like, think about what you learned to do. If you can do that, you can learn marketing, you can learn selling, you can learn operations, you can learn to, look at profit and loss statements and not break out in hives. You can learn all these things, right? Yeah. So you can learn them, but commitment is required. If we're like, let me test it out, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely. And that also brings me to another question I had. I think entrepreneurs, physician entrepreneurs particularly, they have a growth mindset, right? Because, like you said, do it scared. You have to learn all these new things. And so you have to have a growth mindset. But some people think that they have a growth mindset, think that this is what they want, and maybe they're just not educated, like they hadn't educated themselves enough about what goes into opening a practice, and they get into it and they're like, either I can't do this or I don't want to do this. What kinds of things If people really take a hard look at themselves, right? What kinds of things would you say, maybe this is not for you? Certain.
Yeah. So there are a number of things. First of all, if you are unwilling to change, and this is what I mean by that, we had to do a lot of work to become physicians. We're talking a decade of evolution. And sometimes we get to this point where we're like, I'm pretty much done. Like, I don't want to have to change anymore. I've arrived. We almost feel like I studied too hard to still need to study marketing. You know what I mean? Like, this should just work. I take great care of patients. Medicine shouldn't be a business and stuff like that. Like, we should just take care of patients and everything should be good. I only want to take care of patients. Then I would say, especially private practice, like a DPC is probably not for you because there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering. Now, can you flip the attitude? You can. But if you want to keep the attitude, and you can, there's no right or wrong. But if you want to keep the attitude, you probably want to leave DPC alone. Right? And work a job so you can see the patients and then somebody else will do all the things you want to do. That's a decision. You can make that decision. You can decide that this doesn't align with my life and that's fine. So that's one. The other thing is maybe not so much don't start, but it will make it challenging if you don't have a why. Like okay, I'll give you an example. A client of mine said this to me once. She said, I want to start a coaching program for doctors so they can kick the insurance companies away and start cash pay practices. I said, okay. I said, wonderful. She runs a private practice, thriving private practice. I think she'll hit 7 figures this year. I said, why? Do you want to start it because you are mad at the insurance companies? Or do you want to start it because this is the legacy you want to leave? She said, I'm mad at the insurance companies. I said, okay. That anger will not be enough for you to weather the storms that come with building this business. Like, I'm doing that. So of course I can help you do that. But what I'm telling you is that this why is going to wear out. It's a negative why, if you will, right? I'm mad at you, so I'm going to start, right? I'm like, so you sit with it. If it's legacy, let's go. If it's anger, you're going to hate it. You're going to build it. You're going to hate it. You're still going to hate the insurance company, hate everything. It's not going to be fun. And so we look at the motive. If the motive is, look at how much my boss is making off of me, I'm going to go do it myself. It doesn't work because it's not going to be like your job, because this is your job, the technician, if you will, the physician, plus the job of the manager and the job of the entrepreneur. Now you acquire 2 new jobs. So now you work 3 jobs, right? It's not going to be enough. So that's the motive. Then being an entrepreneur is going to be painful. Right? That's the second one I would say. The third is, if you're not, there's a part of having a growth mindset, but if you're not willing to do the work to learn and evolve, then you don't want to do it. Right? Because it's all learning. If you think about it, right? We had to learn marketing. We had to learn selling. We now realize we had a mind, and that mind is full of mind drama that we need to manage. And we have to think of pricing and leading team, and oh my goodness, leading more team and all the. So when you think about it, it's a whole lot of evolution. And if you're like, I've paid my dues, I just want to stay at home with my babies and have time for then maybe not. Now, could you do this? I have time for it. Of course. I mean, I homeschool my kids. Of course you can. There's a way to do it. But if you're not willing to pay the price to do that, then maybe not. It'll be painful because you're resisting the inevitable, right? Like, so it'll just be so painful.
Yeah. We do aesthetics at our practice as well. So it's DPC and aesthetics. And so people say, well, I'm thinking about getting into aesthetics. And I'm like, are you? Really? Because you're going to have to think very hard about that one. It is not regular medicine. It is completely different ballgame. So, you have to learn marketing. You have to, if you think you're putting yourself out there now, well, just wait.
10 exits. That's what you need.
Exactly. Well, Dr. Una, I do not want to take up too much of your time, and I really, really appreciate you. I feel like I just got a whole coaching lesson, personal. I am so excited.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
I know. I didn't realize that's what was coming, so I got tons out of this. But I really, really appreciate you being here. And do you have any last thoughts that you want to give to those moms out there who are thinking about DPC?
This is what I will say. If you're thinking about it and you're scared because you're like, what if it doesn't work? I don't know what to do. This is very different. I want to remind you of who you are. You are a physician, which means at some point in time, the 300 things you can do now that make you special, you couldn't like make you special as a career. You couldn't do them. And sometimes we hang out with ourselves so much that we don't realize how cool we are. Like there's over 330 million people in the US. There's 1 million physicians. That's you. So you were able to have a dramatic transformation that took you from a person to a person who can bring people back from the dead. Okay? Like if we use that analogy, you can make any transition that is required for you to be a successful entrepreneur. Any. Will it be uncomfortable? Yes, but it's a good discomfort. It's like lifting weights at the gym. Doesn't feel good when you do it, feels excellent when you're done. And you can learn every skill and you can thrive at this. And I'm not saying it to like flattery or anything like that. I've watched hundreds of doctors do this. You can thrive at this. You can become a version of yourself that you're not now. You could market confidently. You could sell confidently. You could do your pricing confidently. You could lead a team. You can manage your time in such a way that you have more time for your family. You can run your business in such a way that you create financial freedom, right? The vacations that you've been thinking about, you can fund them. You can change your life using entrepreneurship. Will you need to change? Yes. Will you need to do uncomfortable things? Yes. But that is not new to you. There's a lot of evidence. You have evidence that you've done this before. Mm-hmm. You can just do it one more time. Mm-hmm. And so don't let the fears hold you back. Fear, except of falling off a cliff, has never been your friend. It never has been. So don't build a relationship with it now. Instead, go like, what if? What if I could do that practice? What if I could do that practice and I had time for my family? What if I could do that practice and it worked financially? What if I could do that practice and do it confidently? What if I could do it and it would be the best thing that ever happened to me? Like, allow yourself, go there, find the next steps you need to take and start taking them. But if you look and you've waited for 2 years, guess what? 2 years has come and gone. The question becomes, will the next 12 months come and go? Will the next 2 years come and go? Or will those 2 years come and then you're like, look what happened over the last 2 years, right? So even if you live to be 200, life is short. We don't have all the time in the world. Someday we're going to be celebrating our 90th birthday parties, right? What do you think 90-year-old you is saying? Probably saying, come on, girl, you could do it, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe listen to her and stop waiting, find the next step, take that, let's go.
Yep. Yeah. I like it. Let's go. Dr. Una, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks again to Dr. Una for such an inspiring interview. I hope that this will help some of you who were thinking about DPC to finally take the leap. And if you found that interesting, I have a companion workbook for the episode, which has several prompts to help you think about the mindset shifts that you need to take in order to become a physician entrepreneur and CEO of your DPC. If you want to grab that, just DM DPC on Instagram. The handle is DPC Life, and we'll send that over to you. Plus, we'll also send our 5-day DPC confidence course. You'll get 5 days of emails that will help get you started on your DPC journey. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening to DPC Life. If today's conversation inspired you, hit follow, leave a review, and share it with a friend who's ready for change. Remember, wherever you are in the journey, your DPC family has your back. Until next time, keep building a practice and a life that truly fits you. This show is brought to you by DPC Ads in Minutes and Harmony Ops Health, helping independent doctors like you grow and thrive.